All right, good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call our Utilities Service Board meeting to order. As a reminder, our City of Bloomington Utilities mission is to enhance the quality of life in our community by providing safe, sustainable, and high-quality drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater services in a cost-effective manner, promoting public health, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. And as a reminder, if any board member has any personal or financial conflict with any issues or individuals on the agenda, then please be sure to recuse yourself during those portions of the meeting. Our first item on the agenda is petitions and communications. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none. Our approval of the minutes from our September 9th meeting. Are there any questions or corrections? Yes.
I wasn't listed as board members present.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else? Hearing no other corrections, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the September 9th meeting? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have approval of the claims. First, we have standard invoices in the amount of $1,294,532.64. Are there any questions? Yes.
I have three questions.
Sure.
First one's core and main at the bottom of page 2. Annual fee for pressure profile application, VO45479. What's the pressure profile application?
So we have census through our, we have pressure profiles, so that's the pressure in our system, so we're able to monitor and
Water.
track that. Yes.
Does it affect wastewater at all?
Wait.
All of our meters are how we bill wastewater, so.
Yeah, so we bill wastewater through our water meters. as well.
Sure, but this is just for pressure profile application. I was just
Yeah.
wondering why it's billed to wastewater as well. It seems like this is a purely water function.
We can change that. It's an easy fix.
Yeah.
We try to keep these separate,
Yeah.
right? So just one, so that's number one. And then I had one other question about a water versus wastewater. And it was for, let's see, McAllister, Jacoby. The next one's Jacoby carbons, yeah. So a couple pretty big expenses for extra types of carbon. And that's a temporary thing for taste and odor, the two Jacoby carbon charges?
Yes, right now we are on the more expensive carbon, and it should just be a water charge. What?
I think you just
It is.
asked
Oh, yeah.
the price, right?
Yeah. It's more expensive right now because it's the coconut carbon.
Yeah, that wasn't a water or wastewater one. The one that was water was McAllister. This is just a question about the billing number. McAllister Machinery, it's the last one on page, 6. So generator at East Booster Station, got that, so it's water. And then it listed as LS. Is that lift station? Is the LS for lift station? So, yeah, this nomenclature confuses me because, booster station for water, lift station for wastewater. Is that typically what we refer to things as? So why would this be an LS for a booster station?
We put both the boosters and the lift stations in the same tracking file. So it's just a designation that we've made. Correct.
I just had never noticed before. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a few. First, on page 2, just I guess more of a comment. I know that we're looking at our I've totally drawn a blank. But what we do with the city every year are not a member of understanding, but please help me. Interlocal agreement, thank you. And talking about like our expenses with our vehicles and things. I know we talked about that last month, and I just wanted to kind of note, well, here were 2 expenses with Bloomington Ford for vehicle service maintenance. So I just wanted to have that on there. And then I had a question on page 9 with the state of Indiana for the unemployment. I'm not, maybe I've just missed this before, but what is that about? Do we have, I guess we have someone that we're paying unemployment for?
Yeah, if we have employees that leave that qualify for unemployment, the utility is a pay-as-we-go entity. So whenever they pay that out, we have to reimburse them for that money.
Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't happen very often here, does it?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the standard invoices? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have utility bills in the amount of $95,976.18. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have wire transfers in the amount of $469,527.88. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have customer refunds in the amount of $2,399.88. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, we have a special check run in the amount of $4,303.25. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the consent agenda. Catherine Zager.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Zager, Utilities Director. I'm presenting tonight's consent agenda pending controller approval, totaling $21,476. The first contract is with Price Electric, Inc., $6,560 for circuit installation for new tower equipment at the Kinzer Pike Skate Park. B is for Electric Plus, Inc., for $4,995 for the installation of generator switch at the West Booster Station. Next is with Industrial Air Centers, Inc. for $4,431 for the repair of 2 air compressors at the Monroe Treatment Plant. And finally, the last one is with Eco-Friendly Mechanical, Inc. for $5,490 for an air conditioning unit at the Washington Street warehouse. Is there any member who wishes to consider one or more of these items individually? Hearing none, if there is no opposition, these items will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is request of approval for an MOU between CBU and ITS for upgrades at Blucher Pool. Mark Menifee.
Mark Menifee, Utility Engineer. This memo of understanding is between CBU and ITS for the upgrades at Blucher Pool. The work associated is with the project to upgrade the control systems at Blucher. We're going to install a new fiber optic cable and existing conduit. Going to replace network switches that help communicate between the control panels. ITS is going to manage this work. They're going to quote this out and contract the cable installation, and they will purchase, configure, and install the network switches, and then CBU will pay the invoices when the work is complete.
Thank you. Questions for Mark? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the MOU between CBU and ITS for upgrades at Blucher Pool? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have request for approval to find HEPACO LLC to not be a responsible bidder. Chris Wheeler.
This is a rare instance on the agenda. We have reached an impasse with HEPACO with regards to certain limitations of liability, indemnification, insurance policy claim, the insurance policies that would need to be in place. And so when that happens and we can't reach an actual, and we can't enter into a contract, we can't agree on the terms, we need to come back to the board and ask for the board's finding that the who we had originally tapped as the winning bidder is not responsible. So when the board does that, we can then move to the next bidder in the list of those who had actually put their bids in for this particular project. And so that's what we're here asking for tonight. It's a little unusual. In fact, it's the first time I've done this in 10 years. So, but that's what we're asking for tonight, and I'm happy to try and answer questions.
Thank you.
not a responsible bidder, does it mark them for future bids, or is it strictly for this individual contract?
It doesn't put them on I don't know the answer to that as far as how the city as a citywide entity would treat this particular contractor. I'm not sure what the controller does, because all of our contracts go through the controller for review and approval. And again, this is the first time I've seen this. I suspect that probably they're going to be on a short list of companies to watch out for if they are bidding on other projects because of this issue that we're having. I can't think that it would be unique if we're having it here at Utilities. It's likely that if they were looking to try and find business at other departments, that maybe we'd run into the same problems. All of the departments have basically, we have a pretty standardized set of terms and conditions that we expect to see on the contracts regardless of the department. So it probably does have a negative effect on them citywide. I doubt that it goes beyond the walls of the city, though. I don't know how it would, unless somebody decided to pick up the phone and call and ask us.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Other questions for Chris? Thank you. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the request for approval to find HEPACO LLC to not be a responsible bidder? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have old business. Do we have any old business from the board? Old business from staff? No. New business from the board? Yes.
Just want to report on the meeting that I attended of our cybersecurity staff group. I met a couple of weeks ago, and it was an informative meeting. I wanted to just bring back to the board that there are such meetings that occur with our staff at least quarterly to discuss ways that the utility can continue its efforts to strengthen our cybersecurity for all of our different systems. There's a lot of points, and I think it was a really productive meeting from the input and discourse the staff had about different things, developments coming along the line. A few things of just highlights. They're participating in a Indiana Utility Regulatory Survey about the status of utilities throughout the state. Lots of discussion about all of our different SCADA applications, as you might imagine. In our 25 budget, there will be a new staff person for instrumentation and control specialist, which will help us be able to study some of these issues and stay up to date, more so in cybersecurity, which is a good thing. I also kind of realized in the meeting we had a couple of representatives present from the city IT staff, and how dependent CBU is in connecting together with the larger city government, Bloomington municipal civil city IT staff, and that close relationship between the two is important, because just as it's so important for the utility to have a robust system that is secure, it's just as important for civil city, and the two are of a same mind on that, and that's good. They can help each other in those efforts. And let's see, we talked about how often cybersecurity is training is required for, how often it's required for staff members, and whether it's just onboarding or on a regular basis and things like that, to stay up to date on different scams and phishing emails and things like that. So it looks like we're on a pretty good path. There's always more work to be done, because boy, in the last couple of weeks we've learned a lot on the international scene about how our adversaries can do bad things when it comes to all sorts of cyber infrastructure. So it's important that we stay vigilant as well. And so, as long as you all allow me, I'll continue to go to these meetings and report back and try to share ideas between past experience and some things the university's doing as well. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank
Thank-
you for attending. Thank you to our staff for inviting Kirk to the meeting and for the great report and the things that you're doing every day. Which kind of along those lines, similarly maybe, we had a great property and planning meeting, was it just 2 weeks ago? And I know we just raced to get through the agenda, and although it's not, Kirk, you're the chair of that committee, but I think we'd like to get together again when it, at a time that's convenient for our staff, because I know that you guys spend a lot of time preparing for that, but if we could get like another subcommittee agenda or planned on the agenda, that'd be great. Thank you. I just had one thing. I really enjoyed the hydrant flushing need to know. I had to look up NTK, but that stands for need to know. It was posted on our Facebook page today, and I really enjoyed the video. And so I think that's a great way to communicate all the great things that happen here at CBU and out in the community. And I learned about the auto flushing hydrants, which I thought were really cool, and I didn't know about those. So I've not seen one. There's not one in my area, but maybe there's one in your neighborhood. So anyway, that's that. Any other new business from the board? Okay. New business from staff? No. Okay. There were no subcommittee reports this week. So staff reports.
For our staff report, we would like to welcome Ashley Craner, our Assistant Accounts Payable Clerk. We'd also like to give some congratulations out. We had 18 employees from Dillman Engineering, Finance, and Environmental Programs complete their CPR, AED, and
Great.
First Aid certifications. Adam Dishman earned his wastewater operator Class 4 license. And Cassandra Allen earned her Surface Water Production 1 certification.
Sounds like a great 2 weeks. Congratulations. Thank you for everybody for putting in the time and effort to get those certifications. Okay. Any other staff reports? No. Okay. Petitions and communications from the public.
We had a memo sent, and we haven't discussed that. How are we going to do that? Are we going to have a discussion today? I mean, I see the
Yeah.
deputy mayor's here. Are we,
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have questions, you can bring it up, could bring it up in new business or,
Well, we're past all
yeah,
that now.
we're past new business.
Kind of just anticipating that to come up. But yeah, so we're at
Yeah.
petitions and communications
We could do
now,
this
so
in
that-
petitions
that's
and
now, yeah.
communications. Right,
Okay.
Chris? Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to start? I guess we thought maybe there would be a start from this end. So
Sure,
okay.
yeah. I can just say that there was a memo sent to the board from the Office of the Mayor, kind of further explaining how annexation for the city is working in regards to sewer connections. There have been some appeals that have come to the board. There's been a lot of discussion, and overall, I think the point of this memo was to clarify a lot of points of either confusion or questions that were lingering. And so we're open to taking any of the board's questions concerning that memo. I know it was sent earlier today, so we haven't had a lot of time. But yeah, and Deputy Mayor Gretchen Knapp is here also to help answer any of those questions.
Thank you. So first of
Yeah.
all, I'll say yes, we've asked, so we appreciate getting something in front of us to look at and to comment on this evening. And so I guess we'll open it up to questions from the board now. Who wants to start?
I just really have one question, and it's directed probably to city legal. And well, first I wanted to say to the Office of the Mayor, thank you for this document and the prompt response to, my comments last meeting at the end about, wanting to move forward. And, I don't know if that had any impact on getting this here, but it's timely and much appreciated. And I view it as, more detail on the city's policy on how they treat requests that come within the context of our rules and regulations, page 43 of our rules and regs. So, I understand it's policy and not rules and regs. So that's the way I see it. And regarding the rules and regs, in reviewing all this, I thought, there's one key thing that really wasn't clear when the West Side Church, came before us and we had that process. And that was the role of the board in the appeal process. And there seemed to be some confusion about that, at least on my part. I didn't fully understand our role, because I remember Chris saying something to effect that if the appeal is denied, then it just goes back to the director. Did I interpret what you said correctly?
It doesn't, no, if the appeal, I'm sorry, may I?
Yeah, yeah.
If the
Could you just talk about the appeal process and the board's role in that, and what it means if we were to grant an appeal or deny an appeal?
The board's role is awfully limited in a situation like this, because the way Section 24 of the Rules and Regs is set up right now, it pretty much, if you have voluntary annexation, that changes the way we look at extensions and connections and extensions. With a voluntary annexation, we will have the engineering department review the request and make sure that it is, from an engineering standpoint, feasible to do the work. They would have already reviewed that in the first place, knowing that the annexation was going to occur, so all of that would work together and the connection would happen at that point. Without the annexation, without voluntary annexation, then you have to look at whether or not there's a valid waiver. The problem is, as you saw from the memo and the way that litigation has gone, the attempt to exercise our right to enforce those valid waivers has been severely curtailed and eliminated in some instances. So the state has done damage to the contract. As a result, there has become a policy to change the way that discretionary portion would have worked. If there was still a functioning second part of of Section 24, then you would see the discretionary review done by the director, which then, if there was an appeal of that discretionary review, the board would then be able to determine on its own whether or not they thought that the discretion that the director used was appropriate or not. You would have had that type of a real review that you could do.
Under those 6 criteria?
Yeah, correctly,
Okay.
correct. But now that we've pretty much seen the eradication of that second part of 24, there really isn't much of a role to play for the board. And so that's why it's going to become incumbent upon us to, I believe, rewrite 24 yet again to reflect the current administrative policy. And so what we're trying to do right now is figure out what 24 looks like. I've drafted something. It's in review with Corporation Counsel, and we hope to bring something to you. So that's a very long answer, but hopefully something that is understandable.
It makes more sense now, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any?
So at the last meeting, there was a brief discussion of the possibility of voluntary annexation without contiguity. Has that
So
moved
that's-
forward?
If you're referring to the idea that Mr. Carmen floated forth, that would have been what would have been a restriction on your deed, a covenant that restricts a usage or restricts the party's full enjoyment of their legal rights on the property. Those types of covenants and restrictions are also a form of contract. Even though they get recorded, we also recorded our waivers against the properties. So it's just at the end of the day, when we reviewed what Mr. Carmen had proposed, it's just a different route to get to the exact same point. And the city is not currently feeling real confident about its entering into contracts of this nature to try and create annexation opportunities. And so that proposal by Mr. Carmen has been, basically, we've rejected that offer.
So you're saying that a waiver, in a sense, is similar in nature to a voluntary annexation because the ability to get it done might be in danger.
Coin, right? One side says we won't argue if you annex. The other says we'll annex when the time comes. But it's a contract entered between the property owner and subsequent property owners of that particular piece of real estate with the city. And whether or not the state would decide that those also should not be something that can be enforced. We just don't feel super comfortable right now based upon the way the litigation has gone thus far. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
I just want to say thanks to the mayor's office for the clarification on this, because it's been a real challenge for us to make sure that we're consistent with what city policy is, and at the same time looking out for our ratepayers and then the people who are really serious about not wanting to put another septic tank in the ground, which we're not too excited about either. So there's this balance here that we're trying to do too. So I think this is a great way to help us at this point. But I guess my question is, what will be the means that this gets communicated either to the public, but and then specifically to people that are planning new developments or new buildings or things like that? Is this something to do through? Well, I guess maybe it wouldn't necessarily be city planning; it'd be county planning, I guess, since they're not in the city limits. The good part about it is at least people know who's on first at this stage in the game. And then I also like the point about how the city would be happy to talk to property owners about voluntary annexation if that need be, if they want to go that direction, so that they really know, okay, if I want to be on city utilities, I'm going to need to annex, or if I'm contiguous, or I'm not until I am annexed. And there's the answer, right? So I guess that last point is we need to make sure that that the intent of the city here is well communicated, so that everyone knows what the expectations are.
My comment would be, in the second paragraph, in order to equitably protect the city's infrastructure capacity and responsibilities to taxpayers, which I know that would be like the city taxpayers, but I'm thinking about the ratepayers who, support all of this. And so I didn't see ratepayers mentioned anywhere in here. And so that was just something that I wanted to comment on. Yes. Welcome.
Hi, Gretchen Knapp, Deputy Mayor. So, we considered whether to say ratepayers or not. And I think the issue is, when we talk about ratepayers, that could include people who have will serves for areas that are not contiguous, that we're honoring still. And the situation we don't want to get into is, let's say that we were to continue with the former practice and say, well, on good faith, at some point, maybe you would be annexed, so we're going to extend service because, gosh, it's just right there. All of our resources have capacity, and what we don't want to have happen is reach a point in the future where, let's say there's a whole neighborhood that wants to be annexed, that is contiguous, and we would have to say, well, no, we can't because we don't have capacity to serve you as part of what would be the city, because we've extended all of these one-offs to other folks because they're paying the rates. So ultimately, when we're talking about maintaining infrastructure and having access to these resources, that is a ratepayer issue, but it is also a city issue that's broader. So it's all connected, and we really just want to make sure that the utility has the ability to serve, in particular, its target audience of ratepayers who are also residents of the city of Bloomington. And hopefully all of this will be resolved in the future in a way that allows us to move forward with less restriction than we have today, but it's where we are, unfortunately.
So kind of just to recap my understanding of this, that the city will honor the will serve letters, but unless you are contiguous to the city now and willing to be annexed, which would be approved by the city council, there will not be any extension of sewer services.
That's correct.
And the USB doesn't have any, this is not gonna be at our table anymore until there's a final decision that the city is happy with on the annexation case.
That's correct. And to be clear, you know, we have been public about saying this for a while now, and folks do still come to us and say, but what about me? What about me? And so we're just really constantly trying to reinforce the same message, and really to be fair to everyone. You know, once we start making exceptions, then other people can come forward and say, why didn't I get an exception? And that's how we landed where we are today, so.
So then also there won't be any other period, like this is it, there's not any extension, there won't be an exception if they don't already have a will serve or meet this contiguous criteria. So not like there's a future project that the city would be in favor of and they don't meet those things, that's not going to get the hookup, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I mean, I think that's fair, so I just wanted to be clear that
we
that's
definitely
the
wanna be-
policy, it's consistent regardless of the project.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
There are people who are contiguous who may not be aware of the policy that they can be annexed. Is that statement true?
Probably.
So does it make some sense to communicate to people contiguous that this option is available to them? Because there are people in those areas that do want to be annexed, and maybe some of those are contiguous. And the more we extend sewer to contiguous and it moves down the line, I think the better off we are.
I think that's a possibility, and my only hesitation is just thinking about our friends at the county. You know, we're building a relationship with them, and when people do come and ask us if I'm contiguous, I'd like to annex, of course, you know, we would say yes, we would consider that. I think if we were, you know, doing a hard sell marketing push, so to speak, that might be a little upsetting to the county, but certainly it's public information, and the public has the right to know all of this, so we can
Talking
certainly.
about hard sell,
Sure.
I'm just talking about getting information out.
Sure.
I think that's a great point. I know of someone who lives on, I don't remember if it's, the city refers them to as the donut or the island, but, and they
Donut.
would like to hook up to city services, and because their area didn't have waivers and had the signatures, and it was not annexed, and so that's an opportunity for those folks. And then I guess that also, like, then there's other city services that then would need to be provided to them. So that's beyond utilities, but I mean, I guess that does open a different discussion, and that's a good point. Okay, anything else? Thank you, thank you. Are there any other petitions and communications, comments? No. Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and a great week.